All right, everybody, come on in and welcome back to the Wives Club. I think this is season 2, episode 8. Happy holidays, everyone. We wanted to give you a festive episode today. So, we're going to talk all about the holidays, especially as it relates to relationships, new relationships, going home to his family, bringing him home to your family, and any traditions that the wives and I want to share. But let me always start by introducing myself. For anybody new here, hi, I am Margaret Brown. Just like you, I am a fan and follower of the late, great Kevin Samuels. And a year ago, I actually booked a session with Kevin when he was with us. And the session wasn't for me. I know I'm average, but I really wanted to give back. And so the reason I booked a session with him was to ask for his permission to stand up a community of like-minded and marriage-minded women. But I wanted to do that within the privacy of his Patreon group. And I'm so grateful. Not only did Kevin give us his permission, he actually came up with the name The Wives Club. So for the better part of a year, the ladies and I have been meeting in the Patreon, and what we would do each week is we would review Kevin's shows from Instagram and from YouTube. We would bring in our own personal experience as a way of giving back, but also improving our own outcomes and everyone's outcomes. So it started with just me and
Wife from the Northeast. Like Maggie, I also had the benefit of meeting with Kevin one-on-one. I had a few coaching sessions with him just to get my wife mindset in the right place. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity. Almost a year later, I am so grateful for all of those lessons. I try to apply them as much as possible because there are so many good gems in there. So super excited to be back this week.
okay, fantastic. Lisa joined us in the Wise Club. Lisa, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I am Lisa. I am a happy housewife of 17 years, and I represent our Henrys and military veterans and military men and guys in blue. So I'm here to support. I never had a meeting with Kevin, but I was on the show a couple times, and I thought he had great advice, and I was a big supporter, and I'm on his Patreon, and I'm just back to do the work and share the good word.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lisa. And after Lisa joined the Wives Club, Hermisha, you all know Hermisha and love her. Unfortunately, she has a conflict today, so Hermisha is unable to join. But we are here for you every week within the mix. The Wives Club is now in the mix. However, if you want to see any of our older content, we have a catalog of over 50 videos that are still in the Patreon to this day. If you just go over to the community tab, you can see the work that we've been doing. So one of the things that you heard the wives say, and I'm remiss, I always want to make sure that I clarify, I believe that whether we are currently married, formerly married, or want to be married, we should conduct ourselves as wives. And wives move differently. You all remember Kevin said that often when he would talk to women as they would call in, he would ask them, but are you a wife? And you could see they would be puzzled a little bit because it's like, well, I'm not married yet. I'll be a wife when I'm married, right? And the answer is no. We should act like a wife so that when a man finds us, we're ready to hit the ground on day one. Okay, so a little bit about me. So I was married at 25, and forgive me, it was more of a modern 50-50 kind of marriage. It did end in divorce, but I do have 2 children from the marriage. So we have 2 teenage sons, so I co-parent well with my ex-husband. And since the divorce, I've been in another long-term relationship over 10 years with someone that Kevin would probably classify as a high-value man. So I've had to do a lot of work in personal development to transition from the modern day woman mindset to being, more traditional. And I can't tell you, I'm happier than ever. And my heart is really to share with you all. It helps me. I hope that it is helpful to you. As a boy mom and only having one brother, I don't have any daughters and I don't have any sisters. So this is my way of giving back. And I'm so glad that you all are here, whether live or on the replay. Okay. So we are going to talk about this festive time of year, whatever you celebrate. We celebrate Christmas, but whatever family gatherings that you have, when you're in a relationship, especially coming home to meet the family or bringing your intended home to meet your family, is a very big deal. People are different and families are different. And so I just been thinking about what I can share, some do's, some don'ts, some experiences, and then we'll go around and let the other wives chime in. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we'll definitely answer your question. All right. So, and like I share with you guys, I always talk to my guy before I start these so I can pick his brain. And the first thing that I would like to offer is, it seems like a no-brainer, but you have to have a conversation about what family means to you and to your significant other. Now, I'm going to assume that we are in a committed relationship and not just casually dating, because I think the rules would be very different if you're just casually dating. In my opinion, I would not bring someone home that I'm just casually dating, but I have a brother that thinks differently. Every birthday party, there was a different girlfriend. So my assumption is that we're actually in a committed relationship that's leading towards, marriage or long term. So I think the first thing would be to have a conversation about what family means to you and to your man. Is he very close with his family? Is he the type that's okay to just see them a couple times a year and talk as needed? You need to know what you're getting into so you're not blindsided. I've had to do a lot of work in adjusting my expectations. For example, with Christmas, I'm the festive one. I want to decorate. I want to go out. I want to do all of the things, matching sweaters and all of that. And my guy will do it, but that's not really how he wants to celebrate. He would prefer a quiet dinner at home. So just setting those expectations and starting with a conversation about, what does family mean to you? How do you celebrate the holidays so you know what you're walking into on both sides? I would say would be the first thing. But we'll come back around. I'm going to toss it over to you. Any tips on holidays while dating?
Yeah, absolutely. And forgive me, guys, if I'm sitting here kind of looking at notes. I'm going to start to bring this to these meetings. These are the notes that I actually took from those Kevin meetings that I've had and those coaching sessions. So I want to start bringing them to you guys so we can really, really look at the lessons and the strategies and apply them to what we're talking about for the week, right? So for instance, this week we're talking about the holidays and dating, right? And whether it's a newer relationship or, to Maggie's point, a more committed relationship, there are specific ways to navigate that, right? What I want to focus on is Kevin's kind of like 5 pillars of what makes a high value woman. And we'll talk about one of them when it comes to holidays. He talks about that she is attractive and appealing. She has a comforting character. She's discerning and disciplined. She's enthusiastic and exuberant, and loyal and liberating. So ladies, I want to focus on number 4, which is enthusiastic and exuberant, because this is, it's a cheery time of year, right? Whether you're in a newer relationship or an older one, this is really where we can become that feminine asset and celebrate the holidays. Men, sometimes when they are busy, they are on their purpose, they don't think of the small things like we do, right? But as we bring families together, this is really where we can bring that cheery time of year. I do silly things like I have got my elf on the shelf. His name is Tito. He comes out. Maggie's got her hat on. Lisa's got her hat on. She has that beautiful tree behind her, right? This is really where we can represent our men and our families well by bringing that cheery time of year, right? So when Kevin talks about being enthusiastic, that's an excellent way to celebrate the holidays because you represent that man well. And then being exuberant. What does exuberant mean? It's bringing that cheery attitude, that joyous attitude to these type of times of year. And, let's say you are his date and you're meeting his family for the first time. You're going to want to bring that upbeat, kind of demeanor to these interactions, because when we meet people, it's so important. Like Kevin also talked about the ABCs of appearance, which is A for appearance, B for behavior. So how do you behave around his family for the first time? C, communication. How do you communicate? Like, what is your style of communication? I think two episodes ago, we talked about the importance of language and not really cursing, right? Especially as a high value woman, we definitely want to be aware of that. D, which is digital footprint, super important. If we're going to holiday parties, we want to show ourselves off very well. So as you are going to different holiday parties and different outings, even if you are with him, it's important to really think about your social media profile. And Maggie had mentioned this, I think it was 2 streams ago as well. So as we are navigating these times, newer, you want to represent yourself well if it's your first time meeting his family. And same thing if he is meeting your family. Oftentimes with our families, we can be very comfortable, right? We can be very comfortable because we've grown up with these people for our whole lives. But it's still important because when you are in a relationship, especially if they're new, you're still in the process of vetting each other. They are thinking of what it's going to be like on the opposite side, and so are you. You're thinking about what it would be like if he were to meet your family. So think about those things. And then for our ladies that are in existing relationships, please, please, please focus on that 4th thing. Stay enthusiastic and exuberant. Every year you could do something different to bring some holiday cheer. And that's what I have for this week.
So many good gems in there. I was just thinking about one of the things that my man said when you talk about being exuberant, the way that we create a nurturing home can remind them of good memories from their childhood. And that's definitely, a place where we can be that feminine asset. But Lisa, I'm going to come to you. What are your thoughts about relationships during the holiday?
I kind of asked my husband too about some of these questions, but for now, what I thought about was I had to prepare my husband for my family. It wasn't a holiday, it was a holiday, but it was like Easter when he was brought around to my family for a dinner. And so I'm a family of 4. I'm the oldest girl of 3 girls, and my brother is the youngest. And we're all 4 of us born within 5 years. So my 2 sisters, I just had to prepare him. My one sister, when she did meet him, which is a few weeks before, she was looking like Alicia Keys. And when my husband met her, before I got to introduce him, like, this is my sister, he was like, "Oh, did y'all see that girl there? Like Alicia, please." And I'm like, "This is my sister." And she had made this comment to her. So my sister wasn't having it. And so she kind of remembered that. So that wasn't a great start for them, but they're cool now. But it's just funny that they had met out in the world prior to me introducing. So, and, but it kind of reminded me of like your digital profile, what you have online. Because now, I think, what did we have back then? MySpace or something, MySpace, I don't know. But I would think today they would just look you up and try to see what you're about on either the male or the female side. But I just thought that was crazy. So letting people, make them aware of what the situation is, especially if you have close-knit siblings like mine, kind of make it hard, because I'd say that was one Easter that a lot of harsh looks and just like digging questions were kind of asked. But we got over that hump. But I think I had to prepare my husband or my boyfriend at the time for my family function. And also when I thought about this question, I was like, as a female, what would I do when I met his family? I just asked a lot of questions, not kind of prying questions, but just like, how should I dress? What would be most appropriate? How should I address people? Stuff like that. Try to make sure I remember people's names. And what did my husband tell me? Maybe we'll come back to it later. But those are the 2 things I do remember that were important and crucial at first, going to a family gathering that was over the holidays.
Thank you so much for that, Lisa. And again, anyone who's coming in, if you have any questions, feel free to either put them in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll definitely bring you into the conversation. So I want to take a little bit of a deeper dive, and I always like to give you guys some tangible things that can be helpful. So we'll start with bringing a man home to meet your family and what our responsibility is in that, just from my opinion and my perspective. So again, I would start with a conversation by asking him, does he want to come home to meet the family? We shouldn't assume that he wants to be surrounded by you and your people. If you have a big, loud, boisterous family, that might be too much for him. Remember, Kevin said that we are to study our men and not to take it too personally. I just shared with you all, I've had to adjust. I love the big, celebrations, and my guy wants something a little bit more reserved. So, number one, I would ask him if he wants to come home to see the family. Again, I wouldn't ask and I wouldn't expect it unless the relationship is at that stage where you guys are committed, exclusive, and moving towards, marriage or, something long term. Then also, I would inform him. You never want to blindside your man. Kevin often talked about that. Being a feminine asset is not just, being there to smile pretty, but we've really got to be their eyes and ears. And we know our family. We know the troublemakers. We know the people that are going to pepper them with questions. I actually have somebody that I know that brought a man that she was interested in home for a barbecue. And I think he was, up north, maybe in New York. And she comes from a big Southern country family. And the family just kind of pounced like, oh, she brought a man home. You're going to marry her? Like 20 questions. And after the family gathering, she never heard from him again. So you really need to know the temperament of your man. When is it overstimulated? When is he going to tap out? Do we need to do all day or just a couple of hours? I would suggest that you prepare him for the characters in your family that are going to be in his face and the ones that are going to be, just kind of reserved. I would try to of course, introduce him to people. And even I've shared with you all, I've done a lot of work in etiquette and elegance because I have to and I need to. But as the host, it's actually proper etiquette when someone comes to your home. It's your job to make them feel warm and welcome. You don't just drop him off unless it's been, a day and he's built relationships, let's say, with the guys and they're watching the game. But it is our job to bring him into the family. Definitely introduce him to, the key people, the elders of the family. Show them respect by bringing a new person in, introducing him properly, giving him a little bit of intel, if you will, about, oh, this is Uncle so-and-so, or this is grandma, or whatever, so that he can build those relationships. Because if this is the man for you, you want him to shine. You want your family to see in him what you see in him. And if we're just being honest, guys, we know our family. They're looking for those chinks in the armor. They're trying to see if they can make him sweat. They're going to see if they can kind of get him, caught off guard. So it's our job to do that. And then I guess, last thing, I would just make sure that you prepare him for how to respond to anybody that either could be, I don't want to use the word troublemaker, but y'all know what I mean. Who can he just kind of, oh yeah, that's just cousin so-and-so. Or if your dad's going to come in with, what are my intentions for, what are your intentions for my daughter? Make sure that he's prepared for that and he knows, kind of what your family would expect if it's at that stage. So that's what I wanted to share about bringing a man home. Your thoughts on bringing him home to you?
Yeah, no, I think that's good. That's good. And I did cover a little bit of it. I do want to take a quick moment to talk about being single during the holidays too. Just because last year in Kevin's Patreon group, right around December of this time, he had a gathering of folks on Zoom, like we would come together every 2 or 3 weeks. And I remember him saying specifically about singles, because not everyone's going to be in a relationship during the holidays, right? And for men and women. But I remember him saying, think about the upcoming year and what you want to accomplish, right? If we want to be wives, if we want to find that relationship, you got to put the work in to find it. And one of the biggest recommendations he had for this time of year is, if your company has a Christmas party, go. Right? If there are opportunities for you to get out of the home and to get more social and to network and to meet people, go. Right? Because Mr. High Value, or even if it's a Henry, even if it is, the man we're going to spend our time with, he ain't going to come knocking at the door. We have to go and be in the places in which he may frequent. Right. Kevin also said this during that meeting. He said that sometimes when we're single, we can go for solitary pursuits. we can get into routines where we spend a lot of time with our day-to-day, with our own goals, the things that we're pursuing by ourselves. But this is a perfect time of year to get out there and make more gains, right? So if it is your goal to not be single in 2023, this is your year, ladies, to get out there. And this is a perfect time to start that. Same thing with men. Kevin was very hard on the men. He's just like, y'all need to get out there. Whatever you're doing, 3 times more. If it's the month of December and we're early on, what's today, the 9th? You have 3 times to get out there and attend a holiday event. Maybe it's outside of family, right? So that's something that I just wanted to pause and mention, because last year around this time, I was single, right? And I know what it's like, and I know it's hard. And, you know, Kevin talked about Shirley being home for the holidays, right? And we don't want that for anybody, right? So I just wanted to mention that. As far as relationships, if you are in one, or if you're in something newer or something existing, gift giving is also a really good thing too, right? Kevin often mentions wives will often lighten the burden without asking, right? For someone that I have recently started to see and haven't seen for the past few months, I really watch what he needs. So, you know, if he has like an old beat up sweater, but it's his favorite sweater and he's too busy to buy a new sweater, I'm like shopping for sweaters for him when he's not paying attention. And it often goes a very long way, because it's like, oh, wow, you thought of this thing and I didn't think of this thing. So it kind of helps appreciate gift giving a little bit more. But even when you go to these, if you're not in a relationship, when you go to these outings, you know, we always want to be that party guest that brings a gift that's thoughtful, right? If it's a host, bring a bottle of wine. If it is someone that's a friend or a group of friends, try to find something small that you can give them that's thoughtful and just kind of has you kind of stand out as that wife-minded woman, right? So those are small things that you guys can do, things that have worked for me that I've implemented myself. But, you know, I also just want to encourage you guys too, because I know what it's like. I was there for a few years until I met with Kevin. I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I want to make this the last Christmas that I'm alone, right? And these are all tangible things. And we're going to keep bringing this notebook back every week, guys, because there's just so much good stuff in it.
Oh, I love that so much. Thank you so much for that. Right. Those little gifts. My guy, he could buy anything he wanted, but some of his favorite gifts for me are socks and underwear, because they just don't think of the things that they need. So anticipating their needs is huge. But Lisa, I'm going to come to you. Anything else you wanted to add about bringing your man home to your family, or anything else?
I would talk about when you go to meet his family at like a family gathering or celebration or something. I found it, because I'm not the most outgoing person, but I know one of my strengths is being helpful. So I just try to be helpful, and, you know, is there anything I can help around the house? Or I remember watching my now nephews. They were babies at the time. I was, you know, keeping an eye on them at one time, helping people cook, set tables. My husband has a big family too, a lot of brothers and a lot of kids. So I just remember kind of, you know, they seemed overwhelmed. So I just made it a choice to be very helpful and hands-on, and that was much appreciated. So much so, as I became part of the family, you know, I was like, oh, you know, Lisa will do it. But my husband, knowing that my temperament, he would step in and say, you know, I don't need you to do everything for everybody. But I do know that was one of my assets that was noticed, that, you know, she's very helpful. She'll step in. She can do whatever y'all need. So I think that was something that kind of won me over, because I had a few characters, including my father-in-law, who grilled me, not at the family function, but when I first met him, he had a lot of questions for me. What do you do, young lady? How much do you make? I mean, he was like, he didn't want his son with the wrong woman for certain reasons, because he had an older son that didn't have the best wife at first. But I can see where all that came from at the time. But I was also prepared. He told me his dad was like, he's going to ask you some questions. Yes, he did. So like I said, being prepared and preparing your person that you're going to introduce your family to is a very big deal. So yeah, make sure you prepare your significant.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Lisa. And that's exactly what I wanted to transition into next. So we talked a little bit about bringing him home with you to meet your big, beautiful family. I don't know if I've shared in the mix. I was actually born in Ghana, West Africa, so I have a traditional African family, and so just things, can be different, and so you want to make sure that your man is set up for success. Now let's transition to, let's say he wants to bring you home to meet the family for the first time. Oh, the excitement and the nervousness. But what tangible things can I think of so that we shine and we make that good first impression? There was a commercial years ago. I'm dating myself now, but I think it was a deodorant or antiperspirant commercial, and it was something about you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And, we can clean up a lot of things, but especially with family, his family is going to be looking at us through that same lens to see if we're really there for genuine reasons, or if we're there for selfish reasons. And I want to make sure that you all are successful too. So again, if your man does not bring up the conversation, I would ask him when is a good time to talk to him about it. Once you get to the point of a relationship and you all are with each other, you have to be confident enough and sometimes even brave enough to start those conversations. Sometimes men, high value Henry Hit Squad, they're not as open and forthcoming as we as women who we can talk all day. So, we need to come prepared with the questions, don't drone on about it, but okay, can you explain your family structure to me? What are some traditions that you all do? What does a typical holiday look like? This could be for Christmas, like Lisa said, Easter, barbecue or whatnot. Kind of set the stage so you know what you're walking into. About appearance, absolutely. This is not the time to wear anything provocative or revealing. You could be in a room with small children. You could be in a room with elders in the community and in his family. So you always want to show respect. I mean, I'm modest all the time anyway, but that is not the time to wear anything that would knock his socks off of. So I'll be mindful of that. Also, bring a gift. Absolutely. It's just good etiquette anyway. The first time you come to somebody's home, bring a gift. Doesn't have to be anything extravagant, but something thoughtful. A good tip I've also learned is if you're traveling a long distance, maybe going to another part of the country or a state, maybe bring something that's representative of where you're from, if it would be accepted to your man's family. But also ask, do they have a favorite wine or a favorite, anything, a book or something that you could bring. When you arrive, definitely greet everyone, but I would say most importantly, make a beeline to the matriarch of that family. You all know, when there are multiple women in this space, there is a pecking order. That is just how it is. Even Kevin talked about this with men when he was a young buck and he would see, some of the girls that he was interested in going towards, the older men that had their stuff together. He kind of had a little bit of that, man, it's not fair. But now that he was an older man, he would tell the younger ones, look, it's just not your time yet. So we have to show respect. Even if your man is not really close to his family, it goes a long way to make the effort to go greet, to go say hello. Like what Lisa said, find ways that you can be helpful. There's been a lot of talk in relationship communities, especially this time of year, about making his plate. I'm going to say this. If you have any concerns about serving your man, this is not the conversation that we need to be having. I'm hoping that you're doing that anyway. We are to be a helpmate. And even if he's used to getting his own plate, this would be a great opportunity for you to shine, to show that you're willing to serve, that it's not all about you. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard from my man, his mother, who is the matriarch of the family, when the younger kids or grandkids would bring their girlfriends over, the girlfriends would be the first one in line to get the food, heap up their plate, and go sit down and enjoy. And the older people are looking like, what in the world is going on? I would offer, even if in your home things are a little bit more 50-50, especially around elders, I would go a little bit, further to show helpful in serving your man first, and then asking who else you can, be a help to. Maybe you just refill a beverage for, a grandpa or an uncle, or, the kids' snacks are looking a little bit low. Find ways to get in there and offer what you can do. You can ask your man, okay, what do I expect? Are the men going to be kind of over here watching the game and the women are washing up? Just take the initiative to find ways to be useful, not only to him, but also to his family, because not only is he watching, believe me, the family is watching. So that's what I wanted to offer about going to his home for the holidays. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so a couple of thoughts just came to mind as Maggie was mentioning those things. First impressions, of course, are so important. And just kind of looking at my notes, when Kevin and I were talking about making first impressions, he always said that the first 7 seconds when you meet someone is crucial, right? In this case, he was talking about men like for the first time, but it's also with families, right? Because if we think about those attributes of high value women, or, women that have a wife mindset, the fifth thing is being dedicated and disciplined. Thinking about dedication, right? If you're dedicated to your man, you're going to let him lead. You're going to let him open the door for you. You're going to kind of let him make the introductions to the people in his family. But those first 7 seconds, like, how warm are you when you meet the folks? Are you showing them like, hey, this is my guy, I'm holding his hand, but I'm also going to shake your hand as well. I'm also going to look at you in the eyes as I'm meeting all of his family members, because these are people that he loves and are important to him. And what an honor it is that he is bringing you home to meet his family for the first time, the second time, the third time. But I think the most important thing is we never want to be too comfortable, even when we get to know the family, because guess what happens? We all go home and the family's going to be like, you know what? I thought it was so nice meeting Tamika. It was so nice meeting Mahogany. It was so nice meeting Maggie. It was so nice meeting Lisa. If we can leave that lasting impression about what it was like, you also just kind of create, a good impression of who you are and what you will do for this man in the future. So as Maggie mentioned that, I was just like, ooh, I got to add on to it. I got to add on to it a tad bit.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for 7 seconds. No pressure, ladies, but that's why we're here every week, to give you what you need to be successful. Lisa, any thoughts or want to share your experience about going home to his family for the first time?
My husband earlier today, I was like, okay, I got, so I said, what is it when you go meet people and at the family, like when you met my family, what did you do? What were some of the things you made sure you did? He was like, well, in your family, when I first met y'all, because like I said, I have one brother and a father, and there's me and my sisters, there's 3 of us and my mom. So we're kind of, the girls outnumber the guys. So my husband, at the time, my boyfriend, he was like, he tried to chill with my dad and my brother. He hung out with the men. And then as my sister started adding their husbands or boyfriends or whatever, we started getting more men in the family. And then my husband's brothers started coming around once we were married. So he was like, what he would tell people, I said, well, what would you advise people who are going to meet family, guys or girls? And he was like, well, I tell the men, don't just hang around the women, go hang around the men once you get introduced, and because the men are going to look at you a certain way, and just go be around the men. Don't, unless you just have to be around your girl, but don't go sit with all the ladies, because they'll henpick you or they'll ask you questions, and then guys are going to think something of you. So that's how he was like, okay, that's okay advice for guys. And he was like, what would you do for the ladies? He's like, well, just go and like we're already talking about, go be social with the women, make sure you meet the elder women in the family, the mothers, the aunts, whoever's most important. I said, but he just said, just be yourself, be male, and do the male kind of thing, and also do the feminine kind of thing. So I guess the take of it was, when I asked him all these questions, just like, once you've met everybody, and then everybody starts going off in their corners or whatever, just try to hang with the men folk unless it's time for y'all to be together. But that was the one thing I remember him saying. So I hope that helps. I hope I don't get another Christmas fog. So, okay.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm glad you remembered. And thank you so much, Tamika, for the comment in the chat. I'm going to read it. Anybody who's watching live or the replay, we love getting your feedback. This is really our heart to give back. It helps us. So if it's helpful to you, please leave a chat or a comment. So Tamika says, this is so timely. I will be meeting my man's family this week. I'm going shopping now for an appropriate dress. Oh, congratulations, Tamika. I'm so excited for you. I'll share with you guys, a few more tangible like do's and don'ts so that you are set up for success and you have a great time meeting the family. So like Tamika said, an appropriate dress. I cannot stress that enough. Sometimes in our community, if we don't go out very often, we think every opportunity is a runway opportunity, and it is not. If you take any of the classes like Anna Bay or any of these other etiquette coaches, they will tell you what's really important is dressing for the occasion. So you need to be mindful. Is this going to be a seated family dinner? Are you guys going to be out, side at going Christmas caroling? Are you going to be, going to look through Christmas lights? You want to be dressed for the occasion, not only so that you are appropriate, but so that you're comfortable. You don't want to be in a ball gown if they're going to do, something a little bit more casual. And that kind of rolls into you want to make sure that you try as much as you can to fit into his family. Even if you have a different tradition, now is not the time to say, we don't do it like that. We don't eat it like that. Be respectful, try it. It shows your willingness. What have we talked about here? Being teachable and coachable, not only to him, but the women in the family are looking to see if you could be one of them. The men in the family are looking at you to see if they can claim you as their own. Hey, that's so-and-so's girl. No, you're not going to do that. So you want to make sure you have that good impression. So yes, an appropriate dress that is, beautiful and festive, but I would err for more modest on the holidays. Usually it's colder weather anyway. So, definitely be covered up and be presentable. Plan for a longer day, than maybe you would be used to. Be willing to stretch yourself a little bit. And then Lisa brought up something that's key as far as men being with the men and women being with the women. Kevin talked about this also in one of his shows where a lot of modern women make the mistake of, hey, what's going on in there, guys? And they want to be right in the middle of the men's conversations. I am going to tell you right now, in my family, that would not go over well. But I was raised to be a wife. Traditional African home, everybody eats. And then the men would circle up and have their, whether it's talking shop or watching the game or shooting whatever the men do, the men would do. And the women would either be cleaning up or talking amongst themselves or tending to the kids. If that is foreign to you, that's fine. However, learn how his family does it and find a way to insert yourself. So if you see that you're the only woman in men's spaces, I would find a way to politely excuse myself and find where the women are so that you look like part of the family and not someone who has no clue. All right. What do you like to add?
So another good thing, because, Tamika sparked a really good idea when she was saying she was meeting the family for the first time. And again, I go through these notes and I forget what Kevin and I talked about, but this is KS game, guys. I don't even think he's talked about this on his streams. Having a virtual business card will set you apart so well. There's this app that he told me about called Hi Hello, and I have one here on my phone. So I have a card that is for business and a card that is personal. You can give people a QR code and they can scan it, because here's what happens when at the end of these outings, maybe some of the women in the family want to stay in touch with you. So they may ask for your phone number, things like that. How professional does it look if you come out and you're like, oh, here's this QR code. Here's how you can stay in touch with me, right? I have used that in so many settings. So if you're single and you're going to these events, someone asks for your phone number, you pull out a QR code, right? So that shows like you are a little bit more, you have the mindset to make things easier. So it says so much about your personality. It also shows like, hey, either you're a professional woman, and even if you're not, like, hey, I've thought ahead about how to make it easier to connect with people. It goes a long way. And I cannot tell you guys how many compliments I've received in informal settings, so like family settings, when I pull that out, people are like, oh, that's such a great idea, right? Or if I'm, out and about doing business and I do that, people are like, wow, that's really a good idea. I've never seen that before. But I was just going through my notes, and when Kevin told me that, he was just like, oh yeah, I have a virtual business card. I was like, what's a virtual business card? Then when I started doing it, people are like, oh wow, that's really cool. And it's fast, because sometimes you may not have time to give somebody your phone number, but if they could take a quick picture of that QR code, it works wonders. So I think that would be good, especially for you, Tamika, meeting the family for the first time. If they want to stay in touch with you, I think it will definitely enhance how you appear to those folks. So that was a good one that came up, and I definitely wanted to share that one.
Absolutely. I'm downloading that app as we speak. And I do see your question, Tamika. So I am looking, because I actually had a module in one of Emma DuPont's classes about gift giving. Thank you. I'm going to read your question, and then we're going to come to you, Lisa, on what you'd like to add. So Tamika is asking, any more greeting gift ideas? I will be attending a graduation, but a greeting gift for his parents would be nice to give. I have some thoughts, but I'm going to see if I can get you what my etiquette coach said. Lisa, what else would you like to add?
Okay. I wrote down a few notes because I didn't want to miss anything too. So, like I said before, in my family, we have my grandpa's a pastor. I had to prepare my husband because my husband's a Navy sailor. So is my father. So they have certain things they like to say and do and drink and stuff like that. So when we go to certain events or family functions, I'm like, okay, we're going to see my grandpa in South Carolina. He is the preacher, and we need to, certain things. So just make sure you make people aware of how to act in certain situations, because we was all at Uncle Jerry's house last night and y'all were drinking and playing spades, but tomorrow we're going to church. It's going to be different. Just make sure you let people know about different situations, how things change from one location to another. I would say, as a female, wear comfortable shoes. I know we like our high heels, and Kevin says do wear high heels. But if it's going to be an all-day event and then you're going to start helping and stuff, make sure you got some comfortable shoes on the side, because for one, I'll look nice when I first get there. But if I'm working and if I'm sweating and I'm chasing kids and food, I need my apron. That's what and I go to houses that have aprons for other women to wear. That's a good thing to do as a wife. Have aprons for others to wear when they come and help. But anyway, we're talking about before you become a wife. Well, you're already a wife, but you want to be wifed up, I guess is the best way to say it. So just make sure you have some comfortable shoes when you go to these family events. If you feel like, or he prepares you and say you're going to be busy, or it might be helpful if you are, because this is important. And don't be the one that everybody's asking about. Okay, we're holidays in the year. I don't want to. Because I'm, 17 years, I got sister-in-laws, we do this. So, and we do talk, the family do talk about you after your first impression. I don't want to be asking you, so what happened to so-and-so that we met at Christmas? She not here. We don't want y'all to be that person. We want y'all to be wiped up. We want to be talking about y'all's wedding coming soon. So, like what they were saying, wear the appropriate clothes. Don't be too revealing. And please, y'all know I don't drink. I never drink. I don't drink alcohol, but I know people do, and I've gone to parties and family functions where you know your limits, know what you can do, and if you're going to go to a family thing, please don't. You don't want to, because you don't want to be the one we're talking about at Easter or the next holiday. So I hope I said enough. But as a wife of 17 years, we do talk about y'all, and it's best for y'all to be part of the wives that we're talking about and not one of the girls that didn't make it. So that's all I can say for right now. Hope that helps.
Oh, so many good things in there, Lisa. Thank you so much. And yes, you all, we want you to win. We want you to be set up for success. And what a way to get the family on your side, whether, you're going to his family or he's coming to your family, is if you've made that great impression and they're kind of encouraging him, hey, you got a good one here. That's the conversation that you want. I love what Lisa said about alcohol. And again, this also goes with the revealing clothes. This is not the time. I know I'm a lightweight, y'all. I can only have one glass and it has to be with food. So I am not going to indulge, especially when I would be around my man's family. I know that I need to do that in the privacy of my home, or I can lay down somewhere, and that's not how you want people's first impression of you to go. So if they're passing it around, just be ready to ask for a mocktail or something else so you're not awkward in that moment. Know your limitations. I love what Lisa said about the apron. And you all know by now, I do have a cooking class on YouTube, and I always wear aprons in the kitchen. But like Everard, how great would it be if you showed up with your own apron kind of tucked away in your bag, so that when it's time to serve or when it's time to clean up, you show up ready, you're not lost in the kitchen. You can kind of sit back and observe and see how you can find things that are helpful. But I did want to answer Tamika's question. Anybody else who's coming in, if you had any questions, you can drop them in the chat or raise your hand. This is about gift giving. So I saw some notes here, and I will put them in when we post the link. But Tamika is asking, any more greeting gift ideas? I'll be attending a graduation, but a greeting gift for his parents would be nice to give. So I have completed Emma DuPont's signature etiquette program, and she has monthly coaching calls. So this is coming from her signature program. So as far as things to consider, some of this is more corporate. So I'm just going to scroll down to what I think would apply. So good things to consider when giving gifts. She says gifts that are unique to, it says your country, but so Tamika, I don't know the distance between you and your man, but let's say you're from the South like me and he's from another part of the country. If there's something that represents your area that would be appropriate for them, something nostalgic to you, I would try to find something local if you could. It also says gifts with inscriptions. So if you know their names, you could also inscribe for them something like a pen, a photo frame, envelope openers, anything that would be inscribed and more personalized with their names on it. That could also be welcomed. She says food and alcohol could be good if appropriate. You want to know if they drink or not. If they do drink, like wine, you can find out what their favorite red or white is. And then maybe pair that with the other local comment. If, like I'm in the South, maybe a muscadine wine or something that's, unique to the Atlanta area or the South. Food, but you want to know if there's any dietary restrictions. Some of those, like this time of year, there's a lot of those meat and cheese boxes or chocolate boxes or any of that stuff, but just ask your man if they have any limitations. And then things not to do when it comes with gifts, obviously alcohol if they don't drink, because not only will that show a little bit of offense, because you don't know if they don't drink for religious reasons or maybe they had an issue in the past, but it shows you being a little bit uninformed or disconnected. So you want to do your homework so you show up like you're ready to impress and you've done a little bit of research. She says to shy away from art, because art can be very subjective. So she doesn't recommend that. She doesn't recommend anything that could have an alternative meaning, like a knife or anything weird like that. And then anything that's too personal, she advised staying away from fragrance or anything that could be very, very subjective. So those are just a few things. I'm going to keep looking while we go around, but hopefully that answers. Tamika says, thank you, ladies. So I'm going to keep digging to share either on gifts or anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another thing is if you're meeting your man's family for the first time, second time, or, in the future, or even if you are just still single and out there at these parties and things, Kevin often used to say that life is about people and relationships, right? And one thing that you can prepare yourself during this holiday season for is having conversations, right? A really good tip that he often talked about was being well read. What was the last book you read, right? Are you into any podcasts? Have you been watching any stories on the news? Having those type of things to talk about will make you much more interesting as a guest at Christmas, or if you are at a singles outing, or you're out there networking at Christmas parties. If you have interesting things to talk about, nobody wants to be that person in the room that's just kind of sitting and just kind of not interacting with the people that are around you, right? So I would think about that, because I always think of Kevin all the time when he says life is about people and relationships, but also how do you build those relationships? Being a good conversationalist is a good start on that path as well. So I would add that.
Absolutely, so good. And I'm scrolling, looking for this and coming up with so much more stuff for you guys. But Lisa, what else would you like to add about either gift giving or anything else meeting family?
Um, just, I say be outgoing and let your personality shine. Be yourself. But all the stuff we've been talking about, it's crucial, you know. Um, but yeah, hang with the women, let the men hang with the men.
Ooh, Mahogany has a comment for gift giving. This is really good, and I'll keep looking, you guys, and I will post this in the event when I post the recording. She says silicone cooking utensils, a cutting board, something homemade or sentimental. I've heard that really good about homemade. If you're good at it, like if everybody raves about your homemade jam or your homemade mac and cheese or whatever, you know, as long as there's no dietary restrictions, that could be a very nice gift. If you're experimenting with something for the first time, if you're trying a new recipe, now is not the time to bring it to the family and say, hey, I made something for you. But yes, homemade could be, or if you're artistic, you know, crafts or whatever, that could go over really well. She says, my mom crafts and always has a throw blanket for me to give someone as a gift. That's a really good one. I'll continue to look for other gift ideas, but hopefully, Tamika, that's helpful. But just I guess as we close out here, you know, in being successful, one of the things I was looking at in the notes here, we shouldn't have to say, but we're going to go ahead and say, because we are family here, manners and table manners and how you conduct yourself. It kind of goes along with knowing your limitations for alcohol, but this is not the place to overindulge in any way. You know, if you know that they sit down for Christmas dinner or whatever it is later in the afternoon, eat something before you go. You don't want to be hangry. You don't want to be cranky. You don't want to be looking at like what's taking so long. That is not a good first impression. You know, get in there and help if you can. But also, you know, if you've ever hosted, you know the stress of trying to get yourself together, trying to get the family together, trying to get the food together. So be pleasant, even if it's taking longer than you would like for it to. This is not for you to just, you know, eat everything you want and have the itis. You are on display and they are looking at you every moment of the time you're there, not for any pressure, but you just, you know, want to be mindful of that. You know, before you help yourself, you know, the seconds, if you do, you know, ask if you can refill anything for anybody else. If you don't like the food, you know, try to taste everything, of course, unless there's any allergies or whatever, but don't be that picky person that's like, I don't eat this or that. If you do have allergies or real sensitivities, you know, either let your man know, but don't expect them to like change everything out to accommodate you. Nibble on what you can and then just be gracious and say thank you. Let's see what else. Of course, you know, it goes without saying, you know, seating properly, chewing with our mouths closed, just everything that we should be doing anyway as personal development to just elevate, you know, our presence so that whatever company you're in, it's just kind of who you are. And, you know, those are some things that, you know, will kind of set you apart and show that you're taking this seriously and you're not just like, oh, yeah, what are we eating today? And unless they offer, don't ask to take anything with you. So just a few things that I want to share with you guys. Anything else as we close out?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I just kind of want to echo the things I talked about before. So whether you are single, you know, it's a great opportunity to get out there, meet people. It's a good season for that. Kevin also used to mention sometimes you stumble into opportunities in networking, right? Like, you know, you might just meet someone at a holiday party, right? But if you are prepared for that moment, you've done the work for that moment, you'll really show out in that moment, ladies. So definitely want to share that. Same thing with men. Like he was saying, like always stick with your wolf pack. Maybe go to a holiday party with your wolf pack. And for ladies, I think it is so important to ditch your single friends during this time. That's a hard one. It was a hard time. I had a hard time when he told me that. But when I met with Kevin and he mentioned, hey, you need to really spend more time with marriage-minded, relationship-minded women, women that are in relationships, women that are in partnerships, because they are the ones that are going to give you the best advice, right? So I would just mention that. And then lastly, if you're getting ready to meet the family, or if you've met the family, great time of year to bring some joy, do something different this time of year. That's what I've got.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Anything else as we close out?
Yeah, my husband said, think of it like a job interview. Prepare yourself like a job interview. Right? You prepare yourself for these jobs. Prepare yourself for meeting the family, Christmas dinner, whatever have you. Be ready, and we've given you quite a few gems. So you want to get you want the prize, you got to go for it, just like you go for anything else. Good luck.
Absolutely. Yes. We bring you all of the love and cheer of the holidays, whatever you celebrate. We want you all to be successful. And like Lisa's husband said, Kevin said this as well, men are always watching. And so this is the opportunity to show that you are taking it seriously, that you aren't taking it for granted. You may need to ditch your single friends for a moment, because if we want relationship, we've got to be intentional about it. And the moves that we make need to indicate that we want a relationship. Another thing that you all can do about the holiday parties, in your neighborhood, people may be having house parties, and your couple friends or your married friends, they want to see you coupled up. They want to see you happy too. So improving and increasing the time that you spend with people that are happy in their relationship, it's going to change your outlook, and we put you in position. What did Kevin say? Your network is your net worth. So the single friends that, are getting bitter to see you happy, you may have to just, set some boundaries there, because we want this to be the last holiday that you spend alone. But if you are so fortunate to be able to spend time with his family, whether going to his or him bringing it to yours, we wish you all Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year, all of that. The Wives Club is here for you every week, usually from 12 to 1 on Fridays. So I will be posting the recording for anyone who missed the live, and I'll add some extra comments there for gift giving. Thank you all so much for being here. We're going to go ahead and let you go, and see you next week on our next episode. Bye.